power and will on earth, and in the hereafter. Which advantage the stage of free will is for the being, that it only recognizes after its death of the body, when its body cover is taken from it. Then it is either in a lightless and powerless state, and it can change nothing about it itself. Then it thinks back full of remorse and desire to the state on earth, in which it did not use the freedom of will right. Or it is itself in the state of light and thinks gratefully of it that God has left the freedom of will to it and that this has earned it the state of light. The recognition of the unused earth time will be very bitter for the being in the hereafter, because this means as it were a step back for the soul to no longer possess something what was free for it in earth life. And it cannot again acquire free will at will, it must rather first do in the hereafter what earns it their will power. It must want to use the soul for other helpless souls. Only then the being comes again into the state to also be able to use its will. But often an unthinkable long time passes, while in earth life with right use of will high spiritual successes can be achieved in a short time. In the hereafter the soul recognizes that both was at its disposal on earth, freedom of will and power to carry out the will, while it now has to wrestle for power, and the supply of it again depends on its will, that is, that not the desire for power supplies it with such, but first the will for the right use of this power must be there, before such can flow towards it. And this will must correspond to the commandment of love, only then the power is at its disposal for work in the hereafter. For earth life there is no restriction of power when the will desires to use it, but man only rarely uses this favor due to him. He certainly receives the life power, however makes do with little where much is at his disposal. The recognition of this triggers an agonizing state of remorse, which torments the being until it can now constantly receive power through the will to use the power imparted to it through light beings for the fellow suffering souls to help them. Now an activity in love starts, and therefore the ascent up. It seeks to make up for the shortcoming, which its earth life has earned it, and it lets its will become active and now fulfills the assignment, which man should already fulfill on earth out of free will, to be active in love. Because only the work in love makes the being completely free. Every bound state is a torment, while freedom means happiness. In earth life the state of boundness is already loosened in so far as the being has free will and can form its spiritual state in the hereafter according to this will, and therefore final freedom or renewed boundness is the fate of the soul after bodily death. Amen.